What's that?
Perfect. You want to be that guy?
Good morning, DCTV. And we are echoing right out the gate.
We are?
Yeah, we were. It's okay.
We are?
It's fixing itself. What's up, everybody? Good morning, DCTV fam. It is Wednesday, October 19th, 2022. It is 9:01 a.m. I'm looking at futures right now, and they're down slightly, but not that much of a big deal so far. Dow's only down around 147 points. S&P's down 22. The NASDAQ's down 62. Looking at Bitcoin right now, and that's sitting at around 19,178 per Bitcoin. Looking at oil, and that's actually up and added up around $1.20, sitting at $84.02. My name is Brad. We got Jaime, we got Coach Tamp, we got at Greg Chick, and at the Don Fran Show. What's up, everybody?
I need oil to be up a lot higher.
Yes, we heard that from you. It's very interesting. I'd love to hear your detailed input into this.
Detailed input as far as oil goes.
Yeah, the oil. What?
I just like making money, so I just need it to go up. I don't care. Like, I just want something to get bombed. It doesn't matter. I even said in my chat, I hope museums announce we got a jar of oil so you can see what it used to look like because we're out.
Well,
that's what I want headlines to read.
We're going to be talking about that today because Tamp had put up some news about the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. We're going to be getting into that a little bit, as well as our WTF news of the day. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And we also had some stock news as well. Procter & Gamble ended up crushing earnings today and gave some interesting insight, as well as Netflix. We're going to be talking about that a little bit too, because they had earnings yesterday, and it's really impacted the entire market. We saw after hours, Don and I reacted to that live on Own the Chaos and at the Don Fran Show, and we're reacting to those Netflix earnings. It lifted the entire market yesterday. So I thought that was very interesting. We're going to talk about all that stuff coming up.
I love it. Your announcement lifted the entire markets. I love that the influence, guys. Love it.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. I'd make a lot of money if that was.
Oh yeah. That was the case. You're just do the inverse Kramer. You're good.
It's amazing. You watch NBC, right? And they'll have a CEO or some sort of influencer on CNBC, and automatically you see whatever stock they're talking about move up.
Yes.
I bet you can make some sort of bot just off of
CNBC.
Watching CNBC.
Yeah. Pretty influential. I mean, globally too, not just here in the States. You have CNBC International too.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you can watch it just move right on up. You go watch the halftime show, and you have the panel of guests like Josh Brown, whatever. Josh Brown starts talking about a stock, the stock automatically starts moving. It's crazy.
Nice. Don, get on CNBC, sir. Brad, you too.
I don't think they'd like me on there.
Probably not. Oh, no. I mean, they got some characters on there. I'm sure that you fit right in.
Yeah, they're like, I don't think I'm the news type.
All right. So before we get into anything, let's just get some light news here. The WTF of the day.
It's a good movie, by the way.
Yeah. So snakes on a plane apparently is a real thing. A garter snake caused a stir aboard United Airlines, which, by the way, had earnings yesterday, and they crushed it as well. In New Jersey, the unexpected appearance of a live snake on a plane caused some turbulence among business class passengers aboard a United Airlines jet at the end of the flight from Florida to New Jersey. The reptile stowaway, identified as a harmless garter snake, turned up on United Airlines flight 2038 from Tampa shortly after landing Monday afternoon in Newark Liberty International Airport, according to Port Authority of Newark, New Jersey. So, how does this even happen? How does a snake actually get on a plane if somebody didn't put it there?
If it's in Florida, it is in a swamp.
But planes are moving so much.
No, it parked at the jetway. Nothing stops a rat, a snake, any critter to move onto the jetway.
I guess
not as it's moving, but at the gate.
Maybe I don't know how long planes usually sit around for, but I imagine that they're always moving. So I just would have.
Yeah, but it could have been on a baggage cart that been sitting there and just got spun up in it,
flung on the bag. But you can only imagine if I were in business class and I'm watching Snakes on a Plane as a movie, and then I'll see this damn green thing on the ground. I can only imagine the reaction in business class.
I tell you what, I'm not watching Snakes on a Plane. I'm not watching Airplane. I'm not watching any of that. Well, I won't even watch Black Hawk Down on a plane. I'm not trying to put that kind of juju on all the rest of the passengers or myself on a plane.
Snakes on a Plane just sounds like a horrible movie, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it had
Samuel L. Jackson in
yeah.
it, so it was
anything with Samuel L. in there is amazing. No matter
That's
how
the movie. Yeah, that's a movie that you watch when you're at home sick with the flu and you only want to half-ass watch something. That one would work.
But you can only imagine sitting in coach. Everyone
Over a garter snake.
what the hell do they know that I don't know? What the hell?
I really hope somebody said, "Get these motherfucking snakes off." I really hope they did.
Oh.
All right, so that was your what the fuck of the day. I thought that was. I was like, look, sometimes you look through weird news, and I was just like, what the hell? All right, so moving on, we'll get into some crypto stuff. So we have Do Kwon. The Do Kwon saga continues, and I know Tamp's probably got some things to say about this one, but Do Kwon came out and explained his role in a failed stablecoin basis Cash. The founder of Terraform Labs and the USD stablecoin that collapsed this past May. I know it's probably still too soon for you, Tamp, but has confirmed that he is involved in the failed stablecoin basis Cash under the pseudonym Rick Sanchez. This is pretty funny, actually. Basically, it ran into the Ethereum blockchain was a stablecoin and launched late in 2020 before Terra stablecoin USD launched in its own blockchain. Despite initial success, Basis Cash failed after months of its existence to consistently maintain its dollar peg and was abandoned by its developers and community. So, for those of you who don't know, Do Kwon was involved in more than just Terra Luna, and this was one of those things that ended up failing. And you had mentioned off camera, Tamp, that he's involved in quite a few other things as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, this is a different article, but the bigger Do Kwon update that does include this particular story was that his interview with Laura Shin on Unchained was released yesterday. About an hour and a half long interview where she promised to ask some hard questions, and overall it was a really good interview. I think he did still semi-dodge a couple questions, probably for legal reasons, but overall I was pretty happy with the interview. He was very mild and timid compared to his Twitter alter ego that he said, he did get wrapped up in too much, tweeting some pretty cringeworthy things, according to what he said. And, in regard to, this stable coin, this Basis Cash is what it was called. And he actually was involved in Basis Cash after Terra Luna had already been deployed. So it didn't come before. It's not like he was involved in Basis Cash, learned a bunch of lessons, and then launched Terra Luna in the same fashion. That's actually a misnomer. He did address it. And it was basically a group of promising Korean interns that had formed this. And, they had a pretty good idea of, how this was going to work, what it was going to do. It looked good, but the group of people that were making Basis Cash, they didn't speak English that well. So they asked Do Kwon to interact. It was like a Rick and Morty, type of thing. So there was, and he was Sanchez, and they asked him to put some stuff out on Twitter to support the project. And he did. But, a lot of people, because of what happened with the Terra Luna crash, want to point out singular things that Do Kwon did as if it were an intentional, just like misnomer. Do acted this way with multiple projects on Terra Luna. So it wasn't just this. I mean, like he's brought up all kind of different platforms that we're building or dApps that we're building on Terra. He interacted with them. He talked about them, and Basis Cash was no different. So, he said that the project basically was doing relatively well. He was their English representative, on Telegram and a couple other channels. And then the project actually left Terra Luna after identifying with Do. Do said, overall, your project's good, but I do see some holes in it, which they all identified and agreed on. Basis Cash left Terra Luna, ultimately failed. But of course, because Do was involved in some shape, form, or fashion, they want to pin it on Do as if he, did something malicious. So it was just kind of an update in that.
And this isn't really news at all. This will happen to anyone involved in crypto. So Do Kwon is a builder, and so is everyone in the community. So the fact, and we're involved with our own community. Boss Don, we have Doge Lord Coffee. Good morning, sir. I see you online. And quite a few others. Don, all of us are involved with many projects, either speaking to them or interfacing with them. And like Do Kwon even mentioned, out of the 4 or 5 engineers that he saw in that project, there was one that stood out to him, and he remained engaged with them because he, like we do, we see certain projects, we're like, guys, this one has potential. Let's do whatever we can to help as a community. So, and I like the fact that he actually came out in public to be able to speak in interviews. But if you think about it, if you're involved in a situation that affects quite a few people, you're at risk at the same time. I lived in Latin America, and I'll tell you, we had to live into hiding. When I was a kid, I had to go to school in different routes just because my stepdad, who raised us, saw there was a problem where the employees were consuming all the alcohol, getting the paycheck on Friday, and by Saturday morning, mom and the kids didn't have enough food, money for food. So my dad's like, fuck this. You know what? We're opening up bank accounts for all employees with the wife having access to it, and let them sort it out at home on how this is dealt with. Well, they threatened my dad's life and threatened all his family's life. But this is the type of thing you see when you try to make certain decisions. So you can understand why you disappear or you lie low, but you don't disappear because you're actually still engaging in public conversation, public discourse. So time will tell us what ultimately happened and what is going to happen, but the building and the interfacing should never end. And that's our motto, our philosophy.
And I'll just add to that too. Like Jaime's dead on a lot of things, but there's there's 40,000 coins in cryptocurrency right now. A lot of people that are new in this space need to understand that the vast majority of altcoins, so anything outside of Bitcoin, the vast majority of the coins out there are simply copy and paste of open source code with a very slight tweak to it. There's really no true innovation. They might be a group of smart people that want to do a certain thing, but they're not necessarily truly innovating. They're just using very successful parts of other successful protocols and putting a tiny little spin on it. That is what 99.9% of cryptocurrency altcoins are. There are a few in there, though, that are truly, truly innovative, starting from ground zero and building something different with the wisdom of everything that has succeeded and failed in the past. But those type of companies and teams are few and far between, and they're hard to find. Terraform Labs and the Cosmos ecosystem is one of the true innovative platforms. So when you have something that is truly innovative, there are going to be mistakes along the way. There are going to be things that work and set the standard for the future moving forward. And then there are going to be things that fail. And Terra Luna was absolutely revolutionary, but it failed ultimately. So, I mean, and there was a lot to learn from that. But, you want to point Do Kwon out as the bad guy when truly he's just an innovator that is building and failed, where other projects get all these accolades when they really don't do anything except copy and paste 99% of what they are. So, again, that's what you have to work on with a growing economy is how do I sift through the weeds? How do I figure this out? And there's a lot to it. So, I get that a lot of people got hurt in Terra Luna, myself included. So I feel perfectly free to talk about this openly. But I do not think Do Kwon's the bad guy in this. He's a builder. That's what he is.
And imagine, and the community is still engaged, guys. I mean, the community itself trying to, okay, how do we fix this? How do we move forward with this? And imagine this is a valid project that goes through this event. Imagine the 40,000 copycats that are out there. Back in the stunk days, let's add a .com. I shovel shit. Let's add .com. Oh, we're millionaires. Let's go. It's this FOMO or this a bunch of chaff out there. So we have to do our own research ourselves. Temp even risked her own assets because she saw the work that was being done. So we have to stay informed and aware wherever we put our money in. And I think that's one of the lessons we come out with from this experience.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great conversation. As always, we are going to be probably continuing to have this Do Kwon conversation as the saga continues. But I'm looking at a couple of other stories that we have coming down the pipeline. There was a 50-meter hole in the Nord Stream pipeline, by the way, speaking of pipelines. And we're going to be talking about that in just a second. But first, I want to invite you guys to check out our Discord. It's absolutely free. I just pinned it in the chat. Make sure you go and check that out. If you can't see it there, it's also in the description as well. But if you want more of DC TV, you want to hang out with us and have more conversations on the topics we're talking about today, as well as many other things related to crypto and beyond, we'd love to have you guys over at DC TV's Discord. Again, absolutely free. There's no gimmicks, no nothing. We just want you guys in our community. We'd love to have you there. So go check us out. Looking at some comments here, Indo Crypto says would be awesome to start making a list in DC TV Discord on a list of copy and paste tokens so people can start learning to see what copycats look like.
A long list.
Like,
yeah, huge list. Yeah, that's a very good.
It doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means, are you truly innovative? I would say no. It doesn't mean that it's a bad thing, that it's not useful, that you can't do something with it, but just understand that that's what it is. And that is 99.9% of crypto is copy and paste.
Yeah. Last and the next one here, this one's for Tamp too. Why did you get involved in Terra Luna in the first place?
The nutshell of it is that I had been in mainly Bitcoin and Ethereum for a long time. Bitcoin totally separate. Ethereum was a lot of fun to play on, but it got very expensive and congested, like you've I'm sure heard before, and it got hard to play in because of that. And the reason why that happened in a nutshell is because Ethereum only works within Ethereum. So if you have an issue in Ethereum, you can't go anywhere else to fix it. That's basically what happens. So you just got to let the bottleneck get through. It's the one highway. Part of the reason I got into Terra, specifically Cosmos, which Terra was built on top of, is because they were trying to change that. A lot of the developers in the Cosmos protocol are former Ethereum and some even Bitcoin developers that saw the same problems that everyone, myself included, was seeing with Ethereum and wanted to make an interoperability, a multi-chain communication project that solved the bottleneck of Ethereum. And once I understood what Cosmos was doing in that regard, I very much became interested in the platform and project. I am a self-proclaimed Cosmos maxi in that regard. That is absolutely my favorite chain. Terra Luna was built on top of it, and its ease of use and its user interface were unlike anything. Your grandma could have used all the protocols on Terra. And then Terra started branching out because of Cosmos to other protocols that could talk. You had one wallet that reached out to Solana, that reached out to Polkadot, that reached out to Avalanche. All these other protocols in one wallet instead of having to bounce around everywhere with a user interface that your grandma could have used. It was fun. It was digital heroin. It was awesome. And I mean, ultimately, that's why I started getting into it. And that's because builders were building and actually trying to fix issues they saw in other chains.
And speaking of that, the framework that we're built on, Cosmos, is still in huge development as we see it. So there is a lot of opportunities out there and evolutions. Cosmos, in my humble opinion, is one of those that is actually making huge changes. And the fact that you see so many other chains begin to interface with this one, there must be something to it. So, yeah. And that's how in crypto, it's small enough to where you start seeing cross-pollination across chains.
Yeah.
But doing something like engaging into a community so you can discuss it. If you don't really understand it, join Discord and open up the conversation. Guys, what the hell is this and why is it so valuable? And you will see that reaction, or get involved in the chain you're interested in. Find their Discord, just go to their site and you'll find all the locations you can start conversations in. Just do your homework. That's all you need to do.
Absolutely. All right, moving on. So Don is very bullish on energy, as am I. Don's got some skin in the game, and he's hoping that the energy continues to go up, oil continues to go up. Today, so far, it's having a great day. But I wanted to bring you guys' attention to why I still think energy is going to continue to go up. We've been talking about this for a while. There's multiple reasons as to why. One of them, we can look at the 50-meter hole that we saw in the Nord Stream pipeline. This is absolutely insane. Let me show you guys real quick some of the footage that we saw that we're looking at here. To me, I think it's pretty clear that this was not an accident. And you have many officials talking about how it took some sort of discharge, some giant explosion to cause the type of damage that we saw in the Nord Stream pipeline. I think that this is going to continue to be talked about, but this is another reason why I think the energy is going to continue to move up. You know, there's the European embargo on Russian oil that's going to take place in December. I don't see Europe backtracking on that, but some of the footage that's coming out here now that that's finally been released has been pretty crazy to see. If you guys didn't see this news, the Nord Stream pipeline is a major pipeline that carries natural gas to many parts of Europe. About 90% at one point of natural gas flowed into Germany through that Nord Stream pipeline, and it all came from Russia. So Russia obviously playing games here, giving the big middle finger to the rest of Europe. And so I think that this is just another reason why I continue to remain bullish on energy in general, natural gas, obviously, but oil also in that conversation. There's been no solution to the supply problem. We're seeing travel demand still remain high, as noted by United Airlines in their earnings last night. So I think that there's just, we have the SPR that we still now are no longer draining, and now we have to fill back up somehow. So there's to me, there's no clear reason why we'll see oil or natural gas or energy in general come down anytime soon.
Don, your opinion. I'm very interested at this moment. Well played, sir.
Very, very biased opinion, I guess. As long as it agrees with my position, then I'm all for it.
Well, it does. Well played, Don.
Yeah. I didn't think it was even news that they found out that it was an explosion. Like, I thought that was just like already
foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
I think
it's who done it.
Everybody knows,
you know.
But they even address it in the article. Everybody's pointing fingers at the West. The West denies it, and that's that. But there were apparently 4 separate confirmed explosions. Everybody thought that it was an explosion, but these new images that came out and were reported on yesterday confirmed that it was in fact an explosion.
At least it wasn't nuclear. Wasn't there an article at one point thought maybe it was nuclear?
I wouldn't be surprised.
That's just fear mongering.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, but I think it's fear mongering, to be honest, because why expose? Yeah. That's like taking it overboard, like stomping on a beetle with a big hoe.
Well, they do. They make those things pretty sturdy. Maybe they thought they just needed that just to break through.
Yeah,
and would know how to do this too.
Yeah. My dad was in oil for a long time, and so I got to go around the fields every now and then, but the pipes they use are no joke. I don't know if anybody in the audience has, further information on this, but oil and natural gas pipelines, especially those that are underneath tons and tons of pressure of deep water, these are not delicate. This is not PVC pipe that was down there. You're talking, 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch steel pipes. Like, you can't just, a whale can't just run into it and bust through it like it's a finish line tape. You know what I mean? Like, these are stout. So you're going to need massive, something like an explosion to disrupt that. They don't just, they can develop leaks at the seams where the pipes join together, but the pipe doesn't just break. That does not happen.
Yeah. And I guess the real questions are, okay, who gains here? Look at the timing. One, there's embargoes, and now all of a sudden we're at the edge of winter. Even here in North Carolina, we're getting 35 degrees when on average, Greg was telling us, it's around 49 degrees. So the timing of these things, the occurrence, it's just an escalation, what we're going to get to. And then the Chinese asking their citizens to evacuate Ukraine. So it just seems to become more and more escalated. And it's worrisome for a common citizen in that region. what is going to happen and how am I going to stay warm and not decide to put food on my table versus pay my electric bill or power bill, whatever that is. And that's where you see, and it's terrible, but at the same time, a reality, that's why energy stocks will rise, because one, we drained our own resources here. And now we have this escalating pseudo war going on with Europe and Russia. So it's inevitable. It will rise.
I mean, I threw it up there for a second accidentally, but the reports of the Finland nuclear reactor being delayed, I mean, does this not just further the case of what we're talking about? Because, I mean, you're going to see now a further delay on an alternate source of energy for Europe. You know, that it's like the largest nuclear reactor in Finland, and now they're saying that they can't reliably feed their grid because their reactor has been delayed in execution. So, I mean, is this just another, you know, straw in the hat, so to speak, of everything that we're talking about? I mean, I don't know. Like, I sent this, I sent this report to Don yesterday specifically just to see if, you know, what his thoughts were on it. But Don, does this not fit into everything that you've been talking about?
It does. It's hard because oil is so manipulated, because it's a currency to a lot of countries. So you do see a lot of oil news. If you jump down any kind of oil conversation, there's always news. So does it affect the markets, or is it that's the tough one? I want to say yes. I agree. But
do you
like
feel
I said,
revenue in power is going to be affected because of all this?
Sorry, hang on, my cat's losing her mind. She just won't get away.
So how does this affect your trade, Don?
Anytime you take the not the demand, the excess away, then yeah, it'll be bullish. It'll push up. Sorry, this is the visitor right now.
So the drainage of our strategic reserves, that definitely pushes our own production must rise, and especially right now we're at the edge of winter.
Yeah.
So produce.
There's also a lot of people talking about the cold coming in early, and that's gonna use up a lot just for heating things. So there's I guess there's a few reasons to be bullish. I don't know. I suck at wording things. I guess ultimately we'll see how it pans out. I don't know. Basically, hit a bright yellow zone of mine, so I'm looking for the excuses. So I just needed to do one of those.
Yeah. All right. So sticking with not oil necessarily, but just the overall markets. Don, you and I had an interesting conversation over at Own the Chaos, and we were talking about, you know, at least a potential bottom in a bear market rally that could be ensuing. You know, over the last 3 trading days in the stock market, we've seen the markets have really good rallies on the backs of positive earnings and actually positive outlooks on those earnings. You know, I'm going to pull up the chart. You can certainly pull up yours as well. I'm not ready to say, obviously, that we've seen a bottom in the overall stock market and it's only up from here. But I think it's worth noting that we saw a pretty decent capitulatory moment last week. And I think that there's reason to believe that a bear market rally could continue and ensue, especially going into the election that we're going to be seeing in a few weeks. And I won't say always, but we typically see rallies going into that. But here's the SPY. You can see that it bottomed out at 348 just last week, and it's seen a hell of a rally on the backs of a lot of these earnings. We just saw Netflix last night. We saw Procter & Gamble today. Goldman Sachs yesterday morning obviously had a great quarter as well. We know a lot of that's revolving around interest rates as far as the banks are concerned, but now we're seeing some of the tech stocks and companies that aren't the banks also do well and outperform expectations. So, you know, this is what I'm observing. Again, not ready to say that the stock market has bottomed completely, but it certainly looks like a bear market rally in the short term is kind of upon us here.
Is the ceiling at that 388.86 level?
So Don and I were talking about that. He was looking at maybe around 382. I noted 388. It's for a couple of reasons. It's a 50-day moving average. The other thing that I wanted to point out, Don, before you say anything, is that that capitulatory moment that we saw last week also came down to test the 200-week moving average on the SPY.
That's a big one.
And we haven't seen it test that since the bottom of the pandemic. Or even reach those levels since the bottom of the pandemic. So there's a couple of arguments that you can make that perhaps at the very least a bear market rally is here and is coming.
I'm with you.
I agree. This is something actually I talked about last week when I saw this move and then this just snap up like that. The way it wasn't the fact that we did that, but it was how we did that was why I thought bulls were coming. Also, we just need to get above this. I don't know why we keep seeing all these sellers here. So I'd be curious to see, ultimately, do we reject this yellow zone or do we work our way into it, base out, and continue up? We'll get to a real time frame. Hang on. So a little bit better. But overall, you can just look like we've been trending down. When it starts to go sideways and curve like that, that's the momentum starting to slow down. So that's the opposing force. It's like we talked about the other day, like I guess it was a while back. We're talking about just how things move and all that. When you see these moves, it's not actually a whole bunch of people jumping in. It's actually just a lack of the other. And so that's what we're running into is like we're just kind of a lack of bears. And it kind of looks like bears just got out. Because on Thursday, I actually talked about this. I even said, time will tell. Was this a giant bull getting in the market or a big bear getting out? It looks like somebody just said, I don't want to deal with it. I'm up enough. And closed a bunch of short positions. Insane rally.
Pelosi.
Ask her, what'd you do here?
And we'll find out when she pays her $200 fine, and it's a little bit late. But yeah, you probably find a lot of the politicians got out then.
Hey, bro, I saw what happened at COVID. I'm not surprised of anything anymore.
The overall trend, still big picture, right? Still down. So bear market rally could be no problem. I don't think it's I still think this purple box is the bottom. But I think we'll rally for a little bit. Powell will come out and remind us we're in recession. Knock it back down one more time. Play that fun game again. We'll bring war will be important. So will rates here in a little bit. Like after we rally, we'll bring back the excuses of wars around the corner, World War III, rate hikes, recession. Dude, what were the other excuses?
There's a lot of
we're out the vaccine, so we're not doing that anymore.
Elections, maybe. That'll get brought up.
Elections. Well, that'll be the reason we rally.
Right.
Yeah.
Midterms. Yeah, everyone's excited.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons to remain bearish here in this market, but at least in the short term, the chart certainly looks like we could see a decent rally off of these earnings. I thought it was interesting, and we can talk about this next, is that Netflix actually had a growth in subscribers over the past quarter that they reported on. So they came in and had a monster move here after hours. They were up as high as 15%. And they outperformed their own guidance. They forecasted 1 million subscribers for the quarter that they reported on, came in at 2.4 million subscribers, and then actually forecasted 4.5 million subscriber growth in the quarter that we're currently in. That actually exceeded expectations from the street as well. That's one big reason why the stock actually moved. A lot of people are trying to point to the ad-based side of their business that they're kicking off. It's only in 12 regions for right now. They're offering it for $6.99 a month if you want ads, which I understand why we'd see a move off of that. But to me, I think the real move here, as it always is with Netflix, is subscriber growth. And for the last 2 quarters, they were actually losing subscribers. And this one that they just recently reported on, finally seeing it going back in the right direction.
So they didn't.
Yeah, but is that because summer's over and people are now at home more?
No,
wanting to watch.
So this was during this. So the quarter that they were reporting on was the third quarter, which was during the summer. So I love that you brought that up because a couple of other people were bringing that up in the stream as we were reacting to it, and I was like, well, this is the summer quarter, and now they're forecasting even higher during Q4. So yeah, I think that would make sense if we were actually reporting on a quarter in which it was cold out, but that's the interesting part, actually, because it was the summertime and more people were out doing stuff. They still saw an increase in subscribers.
Well, as the non-trader technical person here, I will say that this rally is because Netflix hosted the Dahmer series, which was unbelievable. So it was the talk. It was the Tiger King of this summer, but the Dahmer series is unbelievable.
I haven't watched
I
that.
haven't watched it either.
Yeah.
Boy, get ready. It's
Weird.
twisted.
Really? Is it kind of like Game of Thrones, or what's the subject?
Oh no, it's
Jeffrey
it's,
Dahmer. That's the
Yeah,
It is
he's a serial
literally-
killer.
Yeah,
You don't know who
it's
Jeffrey
literally
Dahmer?
the story of the notorious serial killer who ended up killing 17 people
Oh,
back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. But it was very well done. A lot of people have problems with it because it humanized Jeffrey Dahmer, which, I mean, at the end of the day, he was a human, but he did terrible things and deserved everything he got and more. But it was wildly relatable and can very quickly challenge your own brain, where you start to think of excuses for Jeffrey Dahmer and understand why he did what he did. That's why it was so moving to me. I was like, you got to be kidding me. And then I had to shake my head and be like, this guy's a psycho. Like, stop acting like, you understand him. It was very good.
damn.
I'm surprised you haven't even heard about just the controversy in itself, because also Netflix did it. They didn't talk to the victims or anything, so they just kind of like,
Oh,
in the news, they're all getting bombarded with text and everything. Hey, there's another one, and I don't know. Like, it was definitely weird. I understand what Tamp was talking about, because in the end, like, it's no spoiler if you know the story. Like, he dies, but in the end, I'm like, at least kill that guy first, and then like let the next guy kill you. Like,
Right.
like,
It was crazy. It was very good. And
I
the
don't watch
acting, the acting was A+. If you look at actual Jeffrey Dahmer interviews and whatnot, the actor that does it, he's been on American Horror Story, a bunch of other things. He's a very talented actor. He nailed the accent, the mannerisms. I mean, nailed it.
Yeah.
see, those are
It
good.
really brought a light to how also I'm all for police, but back then, man, did they miss some serious red flags.
They screwed
Like,
up more than once.
a lot. Like
Yep.
it really is. Like, the dude's got a 55-gallon drum of acid in his room, just decomposing a body. And if you've ever smelt death, like, you don't need me to explain it to you. Like, that's just, and they called the police over and over multiple times about how it just smelled horrible, because it's in an apartment complex.
Jesus.
And,
Yeah.
and then they just were like, he just like, that's why you've seen all the pork chop meats. He's like, my family brought over a bunch of meat, a bunch of pork chops that went bad. You're just like, what?
Jesus Christ.
No one in this world would believe that.
That's crazy. So that actually kind of brings me to my next question about this. So I was looking at Netflix, when they were losing subscribers, and looking at some of the other streaming services that were actually still gaining as Netflix was losing, such as Disney Plus. Disney Plus is still an absolute monster, and if you combine all of Disney's platforms, Hulu, ESPN Plus, and the like, they're actually now bigger than Netflix. And so I'm curious.
And cheaper.
And
Yes.
cheaper, right? And they have original content just like Netflix.
Yep.
But to me, I think that stands as the one and only company that could really hold a candle to Netflix for the moment. But there's other platforms out there that provide streaming services that are still growing. Can Netflix continue to sustain this? Obviously, they have the ad supported pipeline now that they've created, but are they still in trouble, or are they still going to be able to maintain the?
I think
I don't know. I could see it going two different ways, good and bad, when they start doing this sharing crackdown next year that they talked about. The password sharing crackdown. It could either piss people off and they just cancel, or it could force people that want to use it to go out and subscribe, right? So that's kind of yet to be determined, right? So,
but based on season, I think the next quarter will be good for them regardless, like you said.
The crackdown, are they really losing anybody if they were taking someone's password anyway? The only people they're going to lose, like, how many family members like just have it, let the other person use it, right? And then there's some people that are like, let's split it. I'll give you $5 a month, and so maybe that one person cancels. I don't think there's a lot. I think there's only things.
Yeah,
to
but
get
if you're the
forever.
person that owns the account and they shut your shit down because you were password sharing, what's the process to get it back online? Is it a pain in the ass process and it's just easier to cancel?
Do they actually shut you down, or do they actually just stop you because they just record your IP address? Like that's where you're allowed to play it, and that's that. Because they can recognize, hey, this isn't the original owner.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And then they just stop that from happening.
Or
Okay,
go full retard
but
like
I'm on travel and I want to watch my Netflix account from this hotel.
Should have thought about that before you gave your password to everyone.
But that's true though.
I'm not saying I disagree with your sentiment. I'm just saying, you know,
Valid.
if I'm the customer and was doing it and then used to it for a while and now they shut my shit off,
Yeah.
you know, maybe it was because I accidentally left my shit logged in at an Airbnb.
Right.
But
Maybe I
think
wasn't
they can
really
tell
sharing.
that- They can probably tell us at a one-off or what's really
Or a
going
continual,
on. And,
yeah.
yeah, and if you watch, they recognize you're playing it on your iPad. That iPad had the IP address of your house for the longest time, multiple occurrences. So it probably is you or a kid, and now you are traveling.
Yeah.
But if you go to a
might be
hotel,
surprised.
you get the option to sign in at the hotel on the account. I don't know if you've noticed
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's
They
a new
probably, but at that point, I don't know. If I was in charge of Netflix, they'd probably let that one go. Because if I'm sharing my account, it's my family. Do all my family members live in hotels, or is it safer to
Right.
assume that one person's probably traveling if
Right.
the address registers as a hotel?
They're gonna have to walk on eggshells on that one. Make sure they do it right.
I think so. And I think that's why I feel like it could go either way, right?
I think they're making it sound like that. I bet it's not as harsh as they think it is. I bet there's some restrictions. Some are going to notice it, and they're going to notice there's no more password sharing. But there's still going to be leaks because you can't hammer it down and make it a bad experience for the first person who originally has the account. You can just make it harder for everyone else that doesn't. So I think peacock it up a little bit, spread your feathers, make it a little bit harder. But then the original owner still has the experience. You still get the job done. You still create the persona that you need your own account. And then it still makes it happen.
Yeah. Right. All right. That is. Let us know in the comments what you guys think about that, and where Netflix is going. Can the growth continue to sustain, or are they more or less into a value stock and not so much growth anymore? Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. And the next I want to talk about a tale of two headlines. So this is something that I think is so funny about mainstream media, or media companies in general, that they have two different perspectives, and these are two pretty big media companies. So I want to show you first the Barron's article talking about how Bitcoin is wound up and why it could be getting ready for a big gain. Now, Barron's makes the argument here that the consolidation at the bottom here around 19,000 could be indicating a bottom, as it's been consolidating and sticking around here, and talking about how this $20,000 mark could mark that bottom, and we could see a huge rally coming into the end of the year and maybe into the beginning of 2023. And this is actually something that we've alluded to. We thought that there's some reason to believe this. However, we take a look at what CNBC put out this morning, and it's a little bit different. They're now talking about how Bitcoin is failing to rally, with stocks as $940 million of the crypto is pulled from the exchange, favored by institutions, and talking about how much 48,000 Bitcoin move off of Coinbase Pro. This is something that I think a lot of people are kind of confused about. What is it? What's the actual answer? And I think that we've played both sides of the coin here as well, Jaime, and I'm sure that you can give some insight, your own insight on this. We still think, and I don't want to speak for you, but I'm just going to go ahead and say this. But I think we still think that Bitcoin has the possibility of falling down to that 13.8 level at the very least.
So I'll be absolutely transparent. I have not moved my buys. I have not moved them up. I've remained. That's where my net is. Hopefully it's a magnet.
Yeah.
Price.
Quick question though: is Bitcoin on the NASDAQ?
No.
Well,
Sweet.
GBTC is listed where?
Grayscale. Yeah.
Yeah, Grayscale's not. It's not Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not on the NASDAQ. Correlation's not causation.
Okay,
Just remember
you're
that.
speaking of actually on NASDAQ.
Yeah, because everybody says it moves with the NASDAQ. A
Right.
lot of people do. And things correlate all the time,
Mhm.
right? Sometimes it's coincidence. If I told you to buy stocks only when the grass is green in the last 10 years up until now, you would have done just fine because we were in a decade bull market. So it's important not to remember just because things lined up. Like you can find whatever you're looking for, and if you look long enough, you will find it. Like that's a kind of I always thought it was a dumb argument. So now that they're bringing it up on the news, like, oh, the NASDAQ moved up and Bitcoin didn't. I was going to sarcastically say that, like, hey, if the market's rallied, why is Bitcoin still at 19? But it's stupid when the news is actually talking about because people will believe it.
It's not a far reach though, right? Because Bitcoin it can be viewed as a tech startup in a sense.
It is actually viewed.
And so it's not really that much of a reach to draw those correlations of Bitcoin moving with tech, is it not?
It's very, as a matter of fact, a lot of people look at it as a risk-on asset on the technology side, and you do see that correlation occurring. The big question is, when will people realize the reason it was created? And as an anti-inflationary hedge, is when we actually see the shit hit the fan, and the fact that I can transfer this asset to do peer-to-peer transactions when my own bank has defaulted or gone under. So it is the intent and purpose of it has not shown itself. So it traces, in my opinion, it traces NASDAQ and any other technology stocks at the moment. Having said that, I still see it as a long-term investment.
Well, why don't I just buy QQQ then? Why do I need to get Coinbase if it moves with the market? I'll just buy the NASDAQ.
So QQQ, it's going to get to the point if we do not land softly, QQQ will be taken.
Yeah, but Bitcoin moves with it, so
correct
with it. So why don't I just buy? Why do I even need to worry about crypto? I'll just buy the NASDAQ.
Because eventually they won't move.
Eventually it won't correlate anymore.
That's the theory, is that it won't. And the fact that I can't sell QQQ, let's say I'm hungry. I can't sell my QQQ to a peer necessarily. Hey, can I sell it to you and you buy it? Bitcoin itself is a protocol for money. So, or a store of value is the way you see it. That I can do. And there are others that are invested in the same way, where you could do a transaction to put food on your table because it's a peer-to-peer asset that's easier to transport and easier to move than gold.
Right. I like what Lord Fenrir here says as well. It says weird since the NASDAQ hasn't been running like in a channel like Bitcoin has since June. I also want to point out too that the NASDAQ topped out in November and Bitcoin topped out well before then as well. So
sometimes it's the leading indicator you can see.
Yeah, I'm not making the argument for or against. I just bringing them up and creating conversation here. But yeah,
I make the argument that it's trash.
It's not like like Bitcoin mirrors the NASDAQ.
There are things that do correlate. So this comes a lot when you guys, not you guys, when people start to focus up and learn how things work. There are things that do correlate. There are things that correlate with each other, and there is a fact, there's a reason why. But then there's times where things just coincidentally correlate. That doesn't mean anything else. It just means cool. The sky was blue and the grass was green. Like that's fantastic. Like it didn't actually matter. They moved next to each other. It was like you going from A to B and Brad's going from A to B. And for some part of the time, we're on the same interstate. Doesn't mean anything, because eventually someone's going to get off the highway and some idiot's going to be out here thinking like, well, why didn't it go up? The NASDAQ went up. Why is my Bitcoin not up? It's because he thought they moved together. And it was just a stupid story to ever talk about in the first place. Like why do people even worry about that? Like, it's a completely different thing. Correlation is not causation. It doesn't matter. I don't care if they moved hand in hand for the last 2 years. It's not. There's an argument there for psychology as far as like risk on versus risk off. They were buying the markets, they were buying Bitcoin, just because the fact that it is a risky asset. And when we are on it in buy mode, that's a big thing to be buying. That's literally it. So they've been in a channel, big deal. Most of the stocks have been in a channel. You're looking at a chart, everything's going the same direction. down. Except for now, the NASDAQ and the SPY had a green day. The S&P didn't. And now we got stupid articles like this making it sound like that means anything. Like
Right.
Bitcoin's still just sideways.
Yep.
Love
Correct.
it. I love it, Don. I could not agree more, which is why I put what I put up on the screen right now.
I know.
I mean, ice cream sales and shark attacks both go up in summertime. So they must be related, right?
I'm going to use
Absolutely
that's
not.
beautiful.
Yeah,
That's beautiful illustration. And I'm going to
love it.
I'm gonna short
ice cream consumption in summer.
Yeah, I absolutely
Yeah,
agree with Don on this one. 100%.
I
And-
really do laugh at people. The first person that told me that, he was the same guy that tried to sell me Wakanda coin. And I laughed. I didn't think he was serious. I thought he was joking, but he was 100% serious. And he wanted me to buy a Wakanda coin because Black Panther 2 is coming out and he thinks it's going to rally. And all I thought about was like, wow, that's what job security feels like, because these people are buying my position when I sell it at the top. And like, that's it. Like, it's the reason my account is what it is because it's full of other people's accounts that think like that and follow news like this. There's one other article you missed, or I think we talked about earlier. Bank of America said Bitcoin to 10,000. So we got one saying it's the bottom, one saying why didn't it rally, the other one saying it's going to 10. Not one of these is going to be accurate.
Just goes to
All
show
wrong.
just goes to show that just because they're professionals doesn't mean they have any fucking idea what they're talking about.
Yeah,
Or-
where are they
or
professional
what
at?
they're-
Quote, unquote, professionals.
Or they know what they're talking about. They're just lying to you.
Yeah.
And they're making their own place.
But everybody's got a different story. So it's like, who knows?
Absolutely.
Who knows?
I
what-
love the rant, Don.
remember.
The Tamp rant. I was about it. I 100% was cheering you on. Lord Fenrir's concerned for your health, but I am not. I love it. Get it out. I absolutely love everything you
But-
said.
It's like when they're
Better out
stupid
than in.
yeah, when they're stupid in the markets, that drives me crazy because people actually believe this stuff.
Mhm.
And it's like, man, like once you've been around long, I feel like, hey, no, seen this before. It's not how it's played. And if you jump into the Forex world, you're going to get the fast track to how things sometimes can correlate, but it won't mean jack. But your account will reflect just how stupid you were when you make that decision off of just that assumption itself, because that car is going to get off the highway at a different spot and you're just going to be lost and dumbfounded with a lot less money. Like, so I would throw that in the trash. I don't care what the NASDAQ. If you're worried about the NASDAQ, buy the NASDAQ. If you want Bitcoin, figure out why you like Bitcoin and buy it. Because they got on the same intersection at one time, big deal. Find a different reason.
I love it.
Beautiful.
That was something.
Do your own research, guys.
That was
Don't follow
freaking
the
awesome.
herd.
All
I
right.
won't have a stroke. If there's one thing I'm 1,000% sure of, Lord, is that I'm not going to have a stroke or a heart attack. Like the last 2 years, I've been in the hospital so many times checking just that. Turns out it's my stomach.
Yeah, for those of you who are close to Don, that's for sure been a thing for him. So, all right, that's gonna do it for today's show. Make sure you check out our Discord. It is absolutely free. The link's in the chat as well as in the description. But we couldn't end the show without doing our birthdays for the day. So we got John Favreau is 55 years old. John Lithgow is 76.
Can you believe that?
No, I cannot.
Amazing. Actually.
But he's looked like he's been 60 for about 30 years. So you got Jose Bautista, famously known for the bat flip, who's 41 years old. And let's not forget about Brandy Aniston, who was 36 years old. She was the star of 3 on Their Knees, Anal Plungers 2, Brandy the Ball Licker, Dreams, Screams, and Creams, and Hypno Tits. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. We'll be back Friday. If you guys didn't caught the announcement, we're switching our schedule to a Monday, Wednesday, Friday structure. So we would love for you guys to tune back in with us on Friday. We'll be having some special guests on, so you're not going to want to miss it. We'll be back at 9 a.m. Eastern time, and we cannot wait to see you guys then. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Have a good one. See
Have
you.
a great
Friday.
one, everyone.
Stay calm, huddle on.